46-25 roll with the NFL complimentary plays dating back to the last season. That's right, 46-25 with the plays I'm giving away. Last Sunday, cashed in with the NFL free play with the Detroit Lions getting the job done in overtime against the Rams. Hi, everyone. Al DeMarco here, General Manager, DeMarcoSports.com. And this is going to be your Week 2 NFL free pick report. And, of course, more importantly, off to a 7-2 start with my NFL best bets dating back to the start of the preseason. And we'll get to that in just a moment. Hey, listen, a couple of things to update you on. As I told you in last week's opening Week 1 report, I've always believed that in week number 1, the favorites rule the roost because the odds makers don't know anymore what to expect from teams coming out of 3-week worthless exhibition games than anybody else. And generally, that's what happens. Well, you saw last week that the favorites did go 10-6 against the spread. But I also warn you, generally, weeks number 2 and 3, the underdogs bark back because the lines are adjusted. Odds makers aren't stupid. The other thing, I told you there's that quirky little trend that I came across about 13 years, 14 years ago, where if you can simply pick the straight up winners of games, you will find that over the first 12 to 13 weeks of the season, they will cash somewhere between 85 to 95% of the time. Of course, it's not that easy to simply find the straight up winners. If you could all do that, we'd all be multi-billionaires. But the straight up winners did go 12-4 against the spread last week. And you just saw another straight up winner get the job done on Thursday night with the Bills winning outright as a dog at Miami. So just keep that in mind and I'll update you as the season goes along. Something else I want to talk about. If you love a dog and you feel that strongly about a dog, I often say that it's worth making a smaller wager on that dog on the money line if the take back price is significant, because you will find over the course of the season that it's about a 35% return on your investment. Now, I'm not saying to make an equal wager. Remember what I just said, making a smaller wager on the money line if and only if the take back is significant. So you had 2 of those 4 dogs winning outright last week, the Patriots and the Steelers. But did anybody really think New England was going to win outright at Cincinnati? No, I don't think so. Did anybody really think the Steelers with Justin Fields was going to win outright at Atlanta? No. So the fact that New England was plus 320 and the fact that the Steelers were plus 165 on the money line, that's fool's gold. I don't think anybody would have bet that. Just like Thursday night with the Bills. Well, the Bills were only plus $1.10 to $1.15 at most on the money line. So why would you invest a secondary play? But it's just something to consider going on in the season, because you will find that when the dogs bark, they often will win the game outright at that 35 to 40% clip as the season progresses. So again, if you find a nice take back price, you can maximize your profit by making a smaller wager on the money line. And I'll keep you up to date on that as well. So with that being said, let's get to your complimentary plays. I think my favorite complimentary play today, just like the Lions last week, it's going to be Jacksonville. For a number of reasons. I look at Jacksonville and what they did at Miami last week, and, they lost on a 52-yard field goal as time expired, 20-17. That was a game that they were up 17-7 at halftime, a game that they should have been up 24, at least on their side. But then Travis Etienne fumbled at the goal line where they could have taken a 24-7 lead. And that really changed the entire complexion of the game, swung the momentum. Now, their pass defense was just horrendous last week. When you think that Tyreek Hill had 7 receptions for 130 yards, they let the one back have 7 catches for 75 yards. You saw that Waddle had 5 catches for 108 yards. The quarterback, Tua, threw for 336. So the pass defense was just absolutely shredded. Deshaun Watson is not going to do the same. The Browns don't have that good of a passing attack, as we all know. And of course, now that their tight end who had a team high 81 receptions, is not playing this week because of an ankle injury, that's going to be even worse. And you look last week that Watson targeted Amari Cooper, who's his number one target, 9 times, and Cooper only came down with 10 receptions or 2 receptions for a total of 16 yards. Now, the Browns had some obvious issues last week. Yeah, they have a lot of obvious issues, but their starting right tackle and their starting left tackle did not play. As of Friday afternoon when I do this report, I can't tell you whether or not they're going to play here. Obviously, Watson was sacked 6 times, but he looked awful. He held the ball too long. He just looked mechanical rather than the quarterback who was once so athletic and made plays in the pocket in his prime with the Texans, finishing 24 for 45 for 169 yards. The Browns were 2 for 15 on third down. Do they still have a good defense? Yes. But I think that this line has been overcompensated because of the Browns defense being good, the Browns being in a must-win situation, the Jacksonville losing, and Jacksonville finishing last year so poorly. I think Doug Peterson also got a little too conservative once again in the second half last week at Miami. I think this is a great price. So again, at 3, I'm buying down the half point on the Jaguars. And you know what I'm going to say? If that line crosses between 3 and 4.5, you're always buying down that half point on the favorite. Next play, San Francisco at Minnesota. Now, we remember what happened in that Monday night game last year where the Vikings won 22-17 as a 6.5-point dog, outgaining the 49ers 425 to 325. Ain't happening this time around. Now, is the Vikings quarterback, Sam Darnold, did he play well last week against the Giants? Yeah, but it was the Giants. And was he on the 49ers squad last year? Yes. And do so many people like to fall into that narrative trap that, oh, well, he knows all about the 49ers defense because he practiced against them last year? Do you not think the 49ers know all about him too because he was on their squad last year and know his tendencies? It's like, it's always forgotten that there's a flip side in that strange little narrative that you hear repeatedly. Now, the 49ers are at somewhat of a disadvantage having a short week and finding themselves on the road, but it's not like they, were overly taxed in that 32-19 win over the Jets. And, when I look at the Vikings victory over the Giants, it wasn't a game necessarily the Vikings played that great. I mean, they had 312 total yards, but it was more a case that the Giants played that poorly with only 220 total yards. So I'm going to go with the 49ers here at 5.5 points. I think that is a very manageable number for the far superior team. So I like the 49ers as well. In terms of your final free selection, and FYI, you can see it down there at the bottom of the screen. Let me just remind you, if you've never purchased a play or never taken advantage of the all access pass over at DeMarcosports.com, why not? You can get 2 days free and you pick the days. If you're watching this report prior to Saturday, you can get Saturday's plays, Sunday's plays. You pick the 2 days, you get them all for free, all the handicappers, all their plays, all their picks, all their analysis for free. What better way to get a sample of what we do at the site than getting it for free? No strings attached. Free means free. So check out the all access pass over at DeMarcosports.com. Your final complimentary play, and I went back and forth trying to pick this last selection, but ultimately I settled on the and even right now, as I'm doing this video report, I'm still flipping. But I settled on the Houston Texans in the Sunday night game. Houston is a 6.5-point favorite. Now, did I have Houston last week as my best bet? One of only 2 losers I've had since the beginning of August in the NFL? Yeah. And they failed to cover the 3-point spread at Indianapolis, winning 29-27. But then, I looked at the box score. Joe Mixon, 30 carries, 159 yards rushing, right? C.J. Stroud, 24 for 32, 234 yards. Houston ran for 213 of their 417 yards. They were 9 for 16 on third and fourth down. They had the ball for 40 minutes. They ran 76 plays to Indianapolis's 43 plays. They had 26 first downs to 14 for the Colts. And they didn't cover. It's one of those head-scratching losses that you just have to shake it off. Really, seriously, what can you do? I mean, you can't dwell on it. If Anthony Richardson didn't hit a magnificent, I think it was 56-yard pass with a couple minutes to go to put the Colts in that final drive, and a couple plays later they scored to get the backdoor cover, it would have been a win. But it was one of those things. Now, what the Bears did. They beat Tennessee 24-17, but it was a game that Tennessee gift-wrapped them the victory. The Bears offense only 148 yards. They had a pick six for a touchdown. They had a block punt for a touchdown. They had three field goals. Now the defense was also shredded, surprisingly, allowing 140 rushing yards to the Titans, who averaged 5.4 yards per carry. So I think Houston, playing at home, playing in prime time, looking to start the season 2-0 at 6.5. That game has gone up a little, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it go off at 7. And again, I'm buying down the half point there. I like Houston as well. So Jacksonville would be number 1. Houston would be number 2. San Francisco down there at number 3. That'll do it for your Sunday video. I wish you well, guys, and we'll talk to you again soon.